first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for listening in. I always appreciate y'all taking time out of your day to come in and chat with us and learn more about these projects that we have on. So what's great about us is our community. I mean, that's the best thing about us. Yeah, we've got a ton of resources, find new projects. You can chat about them, find the goods and the bads. We've got leverage trading calls. We've got technical analysis. We've got all this good stuff, but the best thing about us is our community. So I appreciate you guys being here. So for those of you watching on YouTube, because this will be uploaded soon, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and make sure you guys join the Discord. And make sure you guys join the Discord for Fortunas Finance as well. They're going to have a lot of updates in there daily. So if you want to really be, in the now, then follow them. So all right, guys. Well, let's kick this off. Why don't you start us off with an intro for the team, and just assume the people in here don't know anything about your project. Let's start with the basics and just give us a little intro.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's always important to start with those. So my name is Luke Tall, if you haven't seen it already. I'm pretty much fully doxed. I mean, we'll obviously be KYC'd and audited as well, but my name is Luke Tall. I have over 10 years of experience in corporate America IT. So running projects, participating in projects. I basically know what it takes to actually take an idea, a concept, and actually execute that from a technical perspective. Even if I'm not the one doing the coding or whatnot, I know what we need to do in order to execute and make sure the final delivery of the product is good. So I have that background behind me. I'm also a 7-figure e-commerce business owner as well. So sell a physical product. It's quite seasonal. We're actually not running advertisements right now, but it's a quite seasonal product. So I have experience, running big operations, not just, as a cog in a wheel, if you will, but I've also shown the ability to actually lead something myself to generate, over 7 figures, with just a few people actually. Then my last thing is I'm a full stack Shopify coder. So basically a full stack web developer, if you will. I'm certified Shopify expert. So I actually do a bit of freelancing, not as much anymore considering I started this project, but definitely something I have a lot of experience with, like coding, right? Actually coding things and again, bringing those ideas to life. So I actually can do it hands-on keyboard myself when it comes to web development. So again, I also have, I actually experienced, my first experience with crypto was in 2011, I think, when Bitcoin was like double digits. So I was actually buying it back in the day. I mean, of course, I didn't hang on to it for 10 years, but that was my first experience with crypto. And then I also have been heavily involved in the DeFi space, basically since, it got really hot, which is like October, November timeframe. So I know about all the different protocols, the play to earn, risk to earn, nodes, rebase, etc. And that's a bit of my crypto background. I won't get into the project just yet. I'm gonna stop and let you ask anything you'd like to at this point, King.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate that intro there. So yeah, just give us a little rundown on I guess what's different about your project. We see that the APY can be basically chosen by you, and it's kind of like a gamified experience. So let's start off talking about why you're different and how you came up with that, and let's dive in a little bit.
Yeah, so a lot of projects we're a part of as of late, right? They're kind of giving you this fixed percentage return. You really don't have a lot of choice. So with Fortunas, as you're saying, King, is that we basically want to hand the keys over back to the investors, right? I don't want to necessarily make decisions for people or kind of give them some sort of arbitrary return based on whatever variables I have at play. So we actually give people 6 different ways to earn. And 2 of those are guaranteed and 4 of those are variable. But yeah, I mean, the whole concept behind the project is that we wanted to allow people to influence their own returns, right? Because it's not very fun if I just sit on a project, I invest, and I'm just getting a guaranteed return. Like, okay, that's great. But from what we've seen, that's not really sustainable, especially if the rates are really high. I'm sure we've all been a part of projects where the returns are just way too ridiculous. At some point, they got to turn those down. And that's for a variety of reasons. But, with Fortunas, the way things work is the returns, you actually get rewarded as a long time holder. So a lot of projects say, hey, we like to reward long time holders. But the thing is, hey, if I'm getting the same percentage as somebody else has been on the protocol for 60 days, am I really getting rewarded as a 60-day holder? I don't think so, right? So thing about Fortunas and four out of our 6 options is the longer you hold, the better the rewards get. So it's not like, hey, you just get this fixed percentage, done deal. You can close the laptop. No, you actually get a better return the longer you stay within the protocol. And there's basically different type of risk reward that you're working with. And we'll get into that a bit further, but I just want to give like a higher level. Yeah, okay, we're a gamified staking platform. Everything's through a DApp. But the way we actually execute the play is very different, not only from like a tokenomics standpoint, but also you have the ability to pick and choose what options are best for you. I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm like making people's judgment calls, right? So you think about it, it's a bit of a portfolio, if you will. The project's almost like I have my own portfolio, and I'm picking and choosing the risk options that I think are best for me. And other people may choose other ones, right? And so you can be in any one of the 6 options or all of them at once, right? However many you want to be in, you can be. And that's ultimately, what it comes down to is the power to choose. Our rewards are more sustainable in the sense that they're not like overly ridiculous. I mean, they're still really, really good. But the fact of the matter is, if you actually want some really, really sick returns, is you actually have to hold on. Like there is some incentive to actually hold on to the token. Whereas in other protocols, whether I go in and out of the protocol, I don't really have an incentive because I'm always getting my 2 to 3% or what have you, whatever is stated on that project, right? So that's a bit of background for Fortunas. Any questions, King, so far?
Yeah, so I'm on your website, and guys, that's fortunas.finance if you want to go check that out. I went over to the how it works tab, and it's got some great graphics on how everything works with the APYs and everything. So when the higher APYs, those are you've got some risk along with those, right? I mean, how does that work? Why would someone want to choose the lower APY versus the higher?
Great question. So I think it'd be great if everybody went over to the website and looked at that how it works section. It's about the middle of the website, I think third or fourth section down. So basically, here, I'll break it down this way. So let's first start off with the first 2 options. First 2 options are guaranteed APY. So just by acquiring the token and putting it in your wallet, you can get 150% APY. If you stake, basically commit to Emperor just basically means staking against the liquidity pool. So if you stake against the liquidity pool, that's also a guaranteed APY of 520%. So those 2 options are guarantees. There is no variation. You just get that per day. It's hard coded in the smart contract. So you get those returns whether you keep it in your wallet or you choose to stake against liquidity pool. Those are 2 guaranteed things. So the next 4 options I think you're asking about, King, is basically how it works is the lower the APY. So if we start with Spartacus, basically my returns with Spartacus are going to be much higher in the beginning than some of those other options below. So Spartacus's rate of return on day 1 is going to start higher. So basically the way it works is that each one of these wars, Spartacus, Attila, Alaric, and Hannibal, they all have a daily percentage amount assigned to them. So I think Spartacus is like 1%. Attila's is like 1.25. I think Alaric is like 2%, and Hannibal's like 2.5%. And how it works is the harder the war, the less chance. I guess I should explain this way. You basically have a certain percent chance to win every 30 minutes. So with Spartacus, since he's an easy opponent and he has a relatively lower APY than his other enemies, right? You're going to win a lot more rebases. You can't lose your original stake, by the way. You can't lose your original stake tokens. But what can happen is I don't win a certain rebase. So the way that would work is basically every 30 minutes, a war occurs with Spartacus. Let's call it a little battle, I guess. It occurs with Spartacus. And so I have a 75% chance to win that war in the beginning of the war. Now, when we get to some other harder opponents, my percentage can go drastically down. So I think Attila is like 50%. Alaric, when I first started, it was like 20, and Hannibal is like 10%. So the reason there is a lot of risk involved in some of those later options is that I have to hang on to get the maximum reward percentage, right? So with Spartacus, I'm already getting quite a bit. Like on average, I'll be getting 0.75% per day just to start out. And then if you look at like something like Hannibal, I'm only going to be getting like 0.25% per day. So there is a little bit of risk because I don't know what the price is going to do the next 2 or 3 months, basically. So when I'm fighting against Hannibal, I'm kind of betting that the price will appreciate, right? That the price will get much better. And I'm going to have to hang on, because if I don't hang on long enough, there really is no true reward against fighting Hannibal. So that's why I talked about where basically it's risk in the sense that we don't really know what's going to happen. And that's basically what risk is by definition is, hey, not really sure, right? Not really sure if that's going to work out well for somebody or not, right? It's hard to say where the project's at, what we're doing, etc. Whereas Spartacus, I'm getting a much higher return. I'm just a bit capped, right? I can only go up to 1%. But I start at a higher percentage. Whereas someone like Hannibal is like, wow, I start at 0.25%, but I can go all the way up to 2.5% per day. And the main way to get a higher percent reward is basically to stay staked against that opponent. So, but there are some levers you can pull as well. We do have NFT upgrades, which actually help you in battle, which I don't want to talk about those yet, but let me just loop back, King. Does that make sense? Or am I just speaking French here?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And yeah, I screenshotted some of those APY pictures as well and put it in there. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, but yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, if you wanted to, you had mentioned something about screen sharing. If you wanted to, let me know. You can do that, but certainly not required. I can share this info in the chat. So let's see. I'm just scrolling through your website here too, so everybody can see it. The DApp design. The website looks good, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very proud of what we like. Actually, it was our development team actually also helped design the DApp, and then we basically reverse engineered that to the website. So the DApp is going to look very similar. Basically, it's going to look like one cohesive thing, which is important.
Right.
Anyway.
So the DApp, when is that coming out?
DApp will be out middle August. Early to mid August is our estimate right now. We plan on having a fair launch in early August. And then the dApper would be released when we go live. Like, we're not going to release the DApp until the token's actually live. So that's when we'll be ready.
Okay. And then, so as far as private sales and everything, have you started with the private sales? Will you have a public pre-sale? How's that going to work?
Yeah. So right now is the only time we're offering discounted tokens. So right now is the only time to where you can actually get a discount on our launch price. And we're running a private sale. Our goal is 25,000 BUSD. And so we're looking to raise another, what is that? $7,500, basically. We already know we have 2,500 committed. So we're looking to really raise about another $5,000. And you can contribute anywhere from 250 to 1,250 BUSD. Right now it's just through a wallet, a fresh wallet we have that we're storing all those funds on. So.
Okay. And as far as the roadmap goes, yeah, if you want to check that out, it's on the website, fortunas.finance. So you've got, you've got integrations to mid to late July, QA and testing and audit. So who are you guys going to be using for the audit?
It's going to be SpyWolf. So we're likely going to be doing the fair launch on Pink Sale, which I know people have mixed emotions about, but they get the most exposure. They have the most popularity. So we'll be getting our audit through a third. It's basically a partner of theirs, which is called SpyWolf. They'll do the KYC and the audit. It's already bought and paid for. I literally just need to ship them the contracts. But again, like the concept I just explained about the wars, there are some intricate details that we can get into, or not, really up to you, King. But basically, we had to do some intensive testing to make sure everything is working. And since it's all time oriented, right? So my rewards get better every single day. We had to make sure, we basically had to scale the number of days. We did that like every 48 seconds is a day, for instance. So it's taking quite a bit of time to actually test everything. But again, me running IT projects and being a part of them, I know what it takes to actually build things, right? It's like, hey, if we say something in the white paper, it needs to absolutely be tested by a third party, not just a coder, right? Because I'm a coder myself. If I review my own work, it's usually, yeah, I'm like, oh, it's perfect. But then somebody else comes along, they may click some other buttons or whatnot. So important that we did like a full-fledged confirmation that everything is working as expected, as exactly stated in our white paper. So.
Yep. Okay. And so at the bottom of the website, you got meet the team. And so I guess you're doxed, huh? Fully doxed.
Yeah, the thing is, the space needs more of this, right? Like I think like MDB just came out as well, and I actually really respect them. We actually talked to them a bit as well in their Discord. So I'm a firm believer in, hey, if I actually believe in something and I really think a lot of people can benefit, I'm putting my face on it. Because if I don't, that kind of shows something about the project, right? If I was just still named Julius Caesar and had this avatar image up there, that goes to show you something about the project, right? So yeah, I live in Ohio. I live in the United States. I'm not afraid to say that because I think what we're doing here is just so different. And we really thought things through from also a tokenomics standpoint that I'm very confident that it'll work, right? So that all being said, I put my face up on the website, yeah. And I do generally do camera if it's available. That's just how I am.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think everybody would appreciate that for sure. I think everybody looks at a KYC as a minimum, but of course, everybody wants you to dox. I mean, how many CEOs of large businesses are there that nobody knows who they are? So it's kind of weird
Exactly.
that's how it is in DeFi. But
We
I
have
hope to
millions
see
of
some change there.
dollars. People
Yeah,
should know who I am and how how it's going to be
yeah,
used, right? Who am I working with, right? This super important thing to do is like I'm amazed, back in the day when we were on the bull run, is how many people are not doxed or just literally say we're never going to dox. That blows my mind that people still invest. I mean, you can, of course, but I still think there's a lot more risk tied to those projects. I mean, people say, "Oh no, blah blah blah," but let's be real. You know my name, you know my face, you know where I live. That's a bit of a different story or ball game we're talking about now. Like, I have to stay true to my word. It's all on the blockchain. You know my name and where I live. Like, anyway, that's a little spiel about doxing.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think everybody will appreciate that. So let's jump over to some of the community questions. We've had quite a few come in here, so let me get on some of these.
Can I just cover a little bit of the wars really quick? I just want to make sure a few other things. So to stay in war, you actually have to give your stakes some tokens. We call them rations. But basically, at the very least, every 5 days, you got to come back around and support your troops. They can't just live on hype and hope alone. So all the tokens that you actually put towards your stake all get burnt. So it's a deflationary mechanism in the protocol. So this idea of, hey, I can just dump like a grand and come back 30 days later and it's worth $2,000. That's not really the Fortunas way. The Fortunas way is that we like to say people should earn the rewards they get. They shouldn't really be handed out. We can kind of see what happens in the world, right? When people are just given things. Doesn't work out too well for pretty much everybody involved. And I'm sure we've all been a part of protocols where it's just handed out. But it does help the protocol, right? So coming back every 5 days, okay, yeah, it's a bit of a drag maybe than your normal passive income protocol, but we're not asking for too much. Come back every 5 days and give your war some tokens to burn, right? That's what we're asking for. When those are called rations. And then we also have NFT upgrades, which allows you to kind of pedal ahead of the time. Remember how I said you got to wait, and it builds over time. Well, NFTs are a way of either one, increasing your win rate by 2 to 10%, and then Calvary actually increase the percentage you get per day. And then all of our wars come to an end. So, at some point, we've all been a part of projects where no one has to sell and they can just compound forever. That doesn't work out too well for later investors that come by, right? So the wars do come to end. They last quite a long time, but they do come to an end where you do have to start giving a lot more rations to stay at war. The incentive is to actually end the war, got to take them back to your wallet and decide what to do from there. So sorry, King, I just wanted to make sure that was covered. Those are kind of the basics, but wanted to make sure that was all covered.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. Okay, so we'll jump over to some of y'all's questions. Looks like we got about 80 people in here now. Appreciate y'all coming in. For those of y'all that are a little bit late to it, I just want to thank you for coming in and learning more about their project. So let's roll into some of these questions here. Let's see. What are the methods for your income for the project? What's the revenue model? And if you've got a treasury, what is that going to be spent on?
Yeah, perfect. Love this question. I think it's a great question. So we have buy and sell taxes. So a lot of our revenue in the beginning is going to be coming from those. There's 10% both ways. That's also something you can avoid if you get into the private sale or the fair launch, is avoid the buy tax, which is great. So that's one method though. So we have a couple others actually as well. So the NFTs, all of the NFT upgrades we talked about. So if you want to, speed your battle ahead and get rewards faster, I'm kind of that way, which is why those options exist. But all those sales of the NFTs actually go to the treasury as well. And then anytime you start a war, 0.5% goes to the treasury. We talk about, hey, you got to get some supplies from the emperor. We got to bribe the emperor. That's the gamified version. But those are the three ways that we generate revenue. And then how is it going to be spent? Which I'm glad this question was asked, because I think this is probably one of the most important questions is, hey, what you're going to make all this money and this revenue, right? How is it going to actually be spent? So we've seen a lot of protocols, right? A lot of protocols just sit on their treasury and say, look how big it is. It's great. Unfortunately, that doesn't really do the investors a good service, right? Because the thing is, if we're making money as a business, I want it to grow, right? And so it benefits both parties, right? So I want it to grow in the sense that if I continue to grow the project, that benefits all of our investors as well as benefits us because we get bigger. So the treasury money will be used. It's not going to you're not going to see $5 million, $100 million, or some crazy number in our treasury, because we're actually going to be wielding that, leveraging it to do more marketing, to build new developments, like build upgrades into the protocol that don't take us 6 to 12 months. We're going to build more like incremental things that are every 1 to 3 months, for instance. So I think that's important, right? Because a lot of times these companies, or these other, I like to say company because I think of ourselves as a company, but these other crypto projects, right? They're like, oh, we got this huge treasury. I'm like, okay, but like, so what? It doesn't really help anybody just sitting in the bank. It's kind of like saying, hey, I got like $1 million in the bank and I'm just going to let it sit there. Nothing really happens if you just let $1 million sit in the bank, right? If anything, it gets cheap, like it loses value over time. So our treasury will be spent mainly for marketing and new development initiatives that will ultimately, give more utility to the token, right? We already have utility with the rations and with the NFT upgrades, but the idea is to actually generate an ecosystem and do it in a relatively fast way. This is not a, hey, I'm going to build a DEX or blockchain. It's going to take us 12 months. Sorry. I mean, I've been a part of those projects. Usually people get impatient. They're like, okay, what are you building now, Luke? I like to give you the example of, Apple probably working on like a rollable iPhone, right? So if I invested in Apple and I came back in 2 months and said, hey, Apple, what are you guys building? And be like, oh, Luke, we're building this rollable iPhone and it's going to take us 10 years. I'd be like, okay, but what else are you building? They're like, no, we're building a rollable iPhone. It'll be ready in 10 years. I'm like, okay, guys, but like, what are you doing for me now? Right. So I'm well aware of this fact. So but when you go to Apple, what do they say? Hey, we'll work on the next version of our iPhone, work on the next version of our MacBook. And they're releasing things on a regular basis. That's exactly how Fortunas will be run, because that's ultimately how these larger corporations are run. And it's a proven model of success where, hey, I have short and medium term goals that help my current investors or customers. But then I also have these ridiculous long-term goals that, hey, maybe they're kind of behind the scenes. They take a long time, but they're probably working on it, right? So they have a kind of a balance, right? A lot of projects have not really taken this balance. So like, hey, we're just going to go after something big, like a play to earn game or something like that. Well, that doesn't really help our current investor base, right? So the idea is to build incremental upgrades with our treasury, as well as continue to market and grow the project bigger.
Cool. Awesome, man. That's cool. I think, the answer most of the time when I ask that is we're going to yield farm. And I feel like that's been the answer almost every time I've asked that question. So it's kind of nice to hear something different. But
Lord help
guys,
us all.
yeah, I know, right? Guys, I opened up that giveaway channel. So we are giving away $100 today. We're going to give away $50 to 2 people. All you got to do is go to the submit AMA questions category. There's going to be a channel there. It's called AMA giveaways. Go in there and react to that channel. That thing is open, and you've got less than 5 minutes now to react to that. So for those that are listening, y'all got the chance right now, 4 minutes, and that thing will be closed. So go over there and react to that giveaway bot so you can get a chance to win. And appreciate you guys coming in here and doing this. They're the reason that we're able to do these giveaways. So thank you to the Fortunas team for that. So all right, guys, go get that
Thanks for
giveaway.
having us.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely,
that.
man. And let's see. Let's roll on to some more questions. So let's see. Okay, we've got a question from Abdul. He's asking about the risks involved when you're staking. Malicious attacks, things like that. What kind of security measures do you have in place? I mean, I know you're going to get an audit, but how can you kind of make people feel better that they're not going to have some sort of a malicious attack and lose some of their staked tokens?
Yeah, so you can't lose any of your stake tokens. The way that the protocol works is that you're not really risking. I mean, you're risking in the sense that you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to stake for quite a long time because maybe this war takes a long time to get rewards, right? Like Hannibal or some of the later options like Alaric, right? But you can't actually lose any of your tokens when you stake, right? There's no impermanent loss, nothing like that. You are going to keep that amount pretty much no matter what. If I exited the war in like a few days, I still get my original stake back minus the 0.5%, right, that you commit to the emperor. So, as far as like, hey, making sure that people don't lose their assets, I mean, that's what the audit is truly for. Most audits, just so everybody is aware, is really about security risk. So, that's really, and the thing is, it's not only on the auditor to do that as well, but also I have a super experienced development team. I'm not even kidding. They've been in the space for like 5 years building these sorts of projects. So they're well aware of the security flaws and issues in contracts. And we're not really pinching pennies around here. We're paying a pretty high price for development. I think a lot of projects try to like kind of skate by and not pay a whole lot, but we're paying quite a bit. I mean, we're talking like 5 figures range. So actually quite more than that, but you get the idea, right? So yeah, okay, audit's important, but also having the right development team that has good experience is also super important on these projects. So with those two things, I mean, the only last thing I would mention is that, hey, you have to be kind of protective of your own assets, right? So this is kind of an individual responsibility to where the holders have to be making sure they're not giving away their seed phrase and whatnot, right? Or clicking on malicious links. So you also have to be careful of that yourself. I can't protect you from everything, but I can at the very least make sure that our smart contract is well audited and well coded, so that none of that can actually happen from a smart contract perspective. So,
Yep. Okay. Cool. So we've got Godwin asking about partnerships. Do you guys have any currently, or are you looking to partner with any other projects?
yeah, this is a tricky question, right? Because the thing is, as soon as you start partnering, it's hard to know what other protocols are really doing. So you kind of have to be pretty careful. Like we've talked to MDB, like we have a good relationship with them. Are we really partners? I don't know. Like that's for somebody else to decide. But I think we'll do partnerships where it makes sense. So like there's another gaming protocol or gamified DeFi protocol, I would say. We're really not a gaming protocol, but more gamified DeFi. But like that one, it's like, wow, okay, we have a lot of similarities and we're kind of doing similar things. Those sorts of partnerships make sense. But I will say that like I'm very protective of Fortunas Finance, not only just the company, but also any of our investors, right? If I make a bad partnership and it goes sideways, like that project goes sideways, then it makes us look bad. It also tarnishes our name a bit. So I'm going to be super careful about partnerships. Do we have any like planned? No, but we have a lot of different relationships and connections to other DeFi projects, right? So I I'm a little bit risk adverse when it comes to that. I would rather just say put Fortuna's Finance on a pedestal and market our own way to growth, right? Versus being reliant on some partnership or taking a lot of risk in that area, just because got to be careful, right? You never know what people are doing, right? So example would be, hey, someone approached me about moving the LP off of BUSD onto something else. I'm not going to mention what it was, but they're like, hey, you can get 9% APY, and I'm like, that's great, but we've seen what happened with some of those algorithmic staking type liquidity pools, right? So this is an example where I said, you know what, we can't really do that because I want to protect my people. It's important that we're on a peg stablecoin that doesn't really have any risk tied to it, because liquidity pool is a big deal, right? That's where everyone's value comes from. So just an example of something we'd said no to is basically, hey, we can't really put our investors at risk. We're not going to do that. So.
Yep, I got you. Okay. All right, let's see what else we got here. So, yeah, just a lot of questions about security, which we've already kind of covered. sustainability. So will you guys maybe be doing any sort of buyback and burn? What are the plans for sustainability?
Great question. So in the white paper, we talk about our tokenomics. And again, this is why this project is quite different. So I like to think of us, this is probably not a good thing to say currently where we're at, but I like to think of us as like kind of like a Federal Reserve, but way more on it. So, in the start of the project, we're actually going to have a lot of the supply being allocated to rewards. It's like 40% of supply. So the way it's going to work in the beginning, and this is to give us some runway and some cushion, and also we don't have to do the classic buyback and burns. Actually, what we could potentially do is fund a bit of the rewards from our own revenue, right? So we basically have a rewards section of our tokenomics that allow us to pull from that supply versus generating more and more supply, right? Because a lot of project strategy when they have these APYs is they like to mint a lot of tokens. Well, you have to be super careful. I mean, we saw what happened in the US dollar, right? Like we minted a bunch of money, didn't really do anything about it until it was a bit too late, right? So it's good to actually be able to create some sort of a protective measure, like saying, hey, we're going to use existing supply when we can. We'll fund that wallet when we can from a revenue perspective as well. A bit different strategy than your historically some of your other like auto rebase tokens, for instance, right? So we do have burning functionality. So we mentioned the rations, they burn. So we basically, anybody that's in a war, any tokens that are in a war are going to be burning 0.25% of like anybody that's in a war. So you think about that, that's quite a big deal. Can't think of any other project that has a mechanism like that to where in order to stay staked, you actually have to burn some tokens yourself. So we call that our auto burn mechanism. And we also have burns on our cells as well. A bit of liquidity sustain on both buys and sells. So the thing that's important to me is that we can actually control the tokenomics and how the flows work post-launch, right? So the fact that we have a rewards wallet, the fact that we have the ability to kind of turn things up and down on our buy and sell taxes up to 10%. So like, for instance, in the beginning, maybe we're really worried about getting money in the treasury. Probably a good strategy, right? But once we mature, maybe it makes sense to give more back to the liquidity pool. Maybe it makes sense to burn more. Like this is the great part about this protocol is that we have like all the levers in place that we can start pulling if need to. So it's important to have good tokenomics when you launch. It's also good to have good tokenomics and have the ability to control those post-launch, which a lot of projects, as you've seen, are like, sorry, that's just the way it works. We just mint tokens. I don't know what to tell you, right? And that just completely depreciates the price, right? Or sorry, we just don't have enough tokens. Hate to call them out, but Strong Block had this issue, right? This is a fact. They burned too many tokens. They had no way of minting more, and they're like, I guess we have to go to another token then that has more supply. So on Fortunas, we kind of solved this in a way of, hey, we could do a lot of different things to help the project stay healthy, right? Whether that's burning, whether that's putting stuff in liquidity, whether that's funding the rewards wallet ourselves, right? It's not exactly a buyback per se, but it's making sure we're not increasing the supply too much when we don't have to. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And yeah, I don't think anybody would be mad at you for talking crap about Strong Block. They're, I think most everybody's mad at them. So
I might be a little salty about that. That's the other thing. We're never going to do V2 migrations. They're ridiculous. This is why our tokenomics are like so important. Again, being able to control them, because if you can't, what do you have to do? You have to create a whole new token, right? That's no good.
Yeah.
So this is why we kind of built. We know what the problems are. Again, this is like kind of going back to my experience. I'm like, I know what the issues are, and no one else is really solving them. So like this project is built to solve a lot of those issues that we've seen on a variety of those projects in DeFi. That's the whole point of Fortunas Finance. So
yeah. Cool. Okay, so we've got a couple questions from Spartan Rojo as well. He wants to know if upgrades are a one-time purchase, and if you can go into some more detail about the heroes.
Yeah, sure. So heroes aren't really your classic NFTs. So basically, people can acquire as many heroes as they like. I will say that you can only have one on a war at a time. So you can't like stack multiple heroes or something on a war. You can only have one hero and one cavalry on a war at a time. They technically last forever unless there is a penalty. If you like add a hero to a war and then like 2 days later you're like, oh, never mind. There is a chance to actually lose it. So I would read in the white paper, I can't remember what section it's under. I think it's under boost your APY, and it talks about retreating penalty. So take a look at that. But ultimately, upgrades price depends on the liquidity pool. So the pricing of those upgrades can go up and down based on where our liquidity pool is at. So again, the idea behind Fortunas is that things scale with the project, whether we're going down or going up. Things scale with us, right? So you'll see on other projects, right, where they have a fixed fee, right? We learned that fixed fees are not great, or just fixed anything is really not great. So basically, everything we do is more percentage based because it needs to kind of grow or grow or decrease with the project, right, where the project goes. So it's another thing we've done from a sustainability standpoint is like, hey, if we get really big, well, NFTs will be really, really expensive then, right? So that's kind of the idea behind it. So hope that answers the question.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So, and I know you've got another meeting here pretty quickly. So just, let me know if you need to hop off of here. I think we can probably ask a couple more questions and then we can kind of finish it up. You can cover anything that we may have missed. But I think everybody
like
always
45 minutes or so. So
Oh
I'm
yeah, you
good
good?
for
Okay,
now. Yeah.
cool. So how's the team going to make money? Are you guys going to take a percentage of the taxes? I mean, are you guys going to take part of the pre-sale? How are you guys going to make money?
Yeah. So ultimately, that comes down to the treasury, right? That's ultimately where the money generation comes from. So not every single dime is going to be used for marketing development. I know that's probably hard for people to hear, but ultimately, we need an incentive to run the project. We got to pay people. People won't work for free. Well, they shouldn't. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to take a percent of the treasury and actually pay people. That's just ultimately what it is, right? What the percentage is, I'm not exactly sure. I know our current burn rate. I mean, I've been buying everything out of pocket myself this whole time, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're going to have to pay people from the treasury. That's where it's coming from, right? So treasury is not going to just be straight up for development and marketing. It also funds team operations. So I know in crypto people are like, oh my gosh, you're going to pay yourself. It's like, well, yeah,
I still have to
that
pay
is the
rent,
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got to
exactly.
put a roof over my head. Yeah, I know. I'm with you there. Everybody deserves to get paid as long as you're working your butt off and trying to make it a success,
Yeah,
If you're
I think that's where that comes from too, King, is like
Yeah,
some people just take money out of the protocol and not really work it anymore. They just kind of set it and
right.
forget it. It's like you should be driving towards something greater than just your current solution, which again our
Yeah.
foundation is awesome, but it's like that's not enough. I don't think that's enough. There's so much more we can do. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like if the project's growing and it's good incentive for you to keep the project growing. If you're taking a percentage of its income, you want to keep pushing the project to make more money for yourself, make more money for everyone else. I mean, everybody wants the price to go up. It's good for everybody. So yeah, no, we all understand teams have to make money, but we always like to know exactly how you're going to do it. So I think people probably would want to know for sure if you guys are going to have a set percentage of what you're going to take out for the team rather than just having it open ended. That may concern them a little bit. So you may want to get a set percentage there rather than, well, this month we're going to take half of it and the next month we'll take 1% or whatever. So I do think that may help if you get a set percentage that people can work off of.
Yeah, the thing with set percent, and I totally agree with you, by the way. I think being transparent is huge in this space specifically. The only tricky part about that is well, how much treasury money do we really have? I mean, maybe in the beginning we don't pay anybody anything. We're just trying to market and do new
Yeah.
development stuff. That is a possible scenario, depending on how big we are. But yeah, I mean, I agree that we'll have to kind of figure that out. Is it should be. I think it should be somewhat of a percentage base. But again, I don't want to be taking money away from the protocol that could be used to grow it, right? So if you're like, hey, we're not as big as we want to be, and we feel like we could use this money for something else, then then we won't be paying people ridiculous fees or something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm with you though as far as transparency for sure. It's just kind
Yeah.
of the problem is it's a little fluid because it's how much volume will we do, how much revenue we generate. That's kind of a big question mark right now. So
Yeah, it is a little open ended at the moment. So, but yeah, guys,
yes.
join their Discord, and of course, you'll continue to get these updates as they come out. So, um, all right, let's see. I think that's kind of actually wrapped up most of the users' questions. Let me see if anybody's got their hand raised. Maybe someone wants to hop up here and say something.
I see some
Uh,
differentiation questions. I think I've seen that a few times. I
uh,
mean, all the unique features that we've listed on the white paper are basically our unique differentiators. So just to rattle those off really quick, we have that auto burning mechanism, right, in place. When you're staked, you got to burn some tokens to stay staked. So that's a big difference between us and other like sort of APY protocols, I would say. The true long time rewards. So, right, the longer you stay staked, the better rewards get. Don't really have that anywhere else in the market either. Yeah, they can give you a fixed percentage, but there's really no true incentive like, hey, I can sell now and jump in later when it dips, right? So there is going to be some sort of push and pull there when I get to a certain point, like, wow, do I need to sell off now and then enter a war later? I don't like that's going to be a much trickier sort of thought process than, hey, I'll just sell now and buy the dip later because I always get 3% or 2%, whatever it may be, right? So and then independent treasury, we talked about the treasury, how it's going to be leveraged for the project. We're not going to be doing any sort of third-party investments. I think MDB lost their mind when I told them that, like, wow, because I think their strategy is quite different. But again, the thing about startups, everybody, just a little quick lesson is the more you kind of bet on yourselves, the much better you can do for yourself. If I'm starting to rely on other protocols that are giving us, like, again, that example, 9%, I mean, that's nothing for a startup. 9% is nothing. Like startups, we're talking about thousands and thousands of percentages, right? So that's what I'm after. I'm betting on the team. I'm betting on the project. I'm betting on ourselves, basically, instead of being reliant on other protocols. Anti-dumping just has to do with the taxes, right? Hard to swing trade an asset that has 20% tax total. And then we're also pairing with BUSD. And so we don't know what the market's going to do the next 2-3 years. I know people have their predictions and whatnot, but ultimately what's important is that Fortunas's performance is not impacted by the market necessarily. By pairing with a stable pegged coin, Fortuna's price will be based on how we're doing, right? So there's not going to be any hiding, right? I bet on protocols are like, sorry, ETH went down. So our price is going to go down like 50%. ETH went down like 10. It's like, okay, that's not a great answer as an investor, right? I'm looking for more answers than, hey, sorry, price of our paired token went down. That sucks. So that's what we're pairing with BUSD. I wanted to throw that out there. So go ahead, King. Sorry, I just want to cover those really quick. I saw some questions around that, so just want to throw them out
absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna bring up some guys that maybe had a question, but I think he may have jumped out of here. So if anybody else has a question, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll bring you up to speak. Otherwise, you can put it in the Fortunas AMA questions category. So let's see. I think we've covered all of those questions. I think I've covered most of mine. You guys are using Queco as the development team. Is there any other projects they've done that you could maybe share with us, or some other websites they've built or whatever?
I think if you go to their website, it's keko.com. You can see all their previous projects. Let me just see here. Let me see. Let me click on DAOs and see if they had any examples. Yeah, they have a few DAOs they've done. Let's see. Okay. You can see all of that on their website. So it has all their previous sort of protocols. Again, this is a very experienced firm. So, but you can see it all. Like if you click on any one of those options if you go to portfolio, you can see all the things they've done. Like in the space, they've even done DEXs, actually quite a few DEXs. So anyway,
cool, awesome. All right. Well, I think that kind of is going to wrap it up for us, unless there's something that you think we've missed out on. If you want to go into any more detail on anything, I think that's all we've got on our end. Is there anything else you want to go into?
Yeah, someone said turn on their webcam. Unfortunately, I can't. But if you go to our YouTube, you can see it. You can see me. I sound the same, so it's going to be hard to fake that. But I can't turn on my camera because this is voice chat only, I do believe. So
is it? Can't do that?
Yeah, I can't actually share or go on video. I think it's as a VC only chat.
Let's see. Huh. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that because I thought we did that on the Bomb Money AMA, but yeah, it gives me an option to disable your video, but that's all. So I guess if you were to start a video, I could disable it, but as it doesn't let me enable it.
Yeah, I think there's like two different types of chats in Discord. I think this is just a voice only one. I saw something else about NFT value. So, I mean, the purpose of the NFTs is really to increase your own gains. There is a strategy. Hey, you could flip some NFTs if you get in early, but really the whole purpose of the NFTs is really about utility on the project. It's not really about like the value of the NFT going up, if that makes sense. I think that'll inevitably happen, but they really are just built for the project. It's not really a historical or a classic NFT. So we're going to have more NFTs, but these are really just a mechanism of increasing your gains on those stakes. There really isn't a huge focus on increasing the value of NFTs or something like that. That's not really where we're at. I think in the future it'll be different, but I think right now it's like, okay, well, if you want to increase your gains, you can mint an NFT. As far as like trading it and stuff like that, that's not a huge focus of ours, I guess I would say. So just know that when you're getting the NFT, right? It's really good in the ecosystem, but maybe not so good because other people can mint as many as they like. It's kind of an unlimited pool, right? So.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, exit liquidity is telling me stages don't allow video, which is stupid because it's literally called stages and you can showcase anything. I agree. Exit liquidity.
Yeah, if you join our Discord, I'll probably be on video Thursday, I think so tomorrow. And again, just a quick reminder, we do have our private sale going on. If you go over to our Discord, you go to the how to buy channel. That's how to get in there. And King, I know you said you're going to give away $100. I'd be also, I don't know if you can change this up or do another giveaway, but we'd also be willing to give her some whitelists as well. If people are interested in those, which is 10% additional tokens in the fair launch. So not a discount, but just additional tokens.
Yeah, how many would you want to give away?
Let's see, how many people got here? 50. We could do 5.
Want to do 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. How's the best way to do that? How should we just pick some random people, or let's see. I could start another giveaway. Maybe we just run it after this. I can start another giveaway bot or something, and or we could actually. Do you have a giveaway bot in your Discord? Because what's better is okay. Because it's always just a little better if I can send them to your Discord. That way, you get the influx of traffic too. You know. So normally for giveaways, I'll have the project set up a giveaway bot that they can join y'all's group and react to it. But if you want me to host it here, I can host it here too.
Here's what we'll do. This is what I'm thinking, since this is like kind of the Fortunas Finance way, is let's just say whoever goes to Fortunas Finance Discord and files a support ticket, says, hey, I'm from Crypto Kingdom, I want to get on the whitelist. First 5 people to do that get the whitelist. How about that? Make it simple and based on performance.
There you go. Yep. There you go.
I'm big on that.
They're going to get it.
That's one last thing, and I know we can drop, but the one last thing I would say is that the whole point of Fortunas as well is that we want to give people the ability to influence their returns. So if you're really good at strategizing and kind of thinking through your decision making on the project, you will ultimately do better than other people, right? So that's the other reason too. It's kind of like, if you think about it, in school is where like some people get A's, some people get B's, some people get C's. Now it's not to say like people that get C's or B's won't get good return, right? But the idea is that the people that are getting A's is far and few between, and that their return can be slightly higher. I don't know how much higher, it's hard to say, but I just want to say that as well, is that, again, the idea behind, hey, I'm just going to give away everything to everyone isn't really a good sustainable model, because ultimately you're likely printing more than you can keep up with, right? So that's another thing I would say on Fortunas, is that the overall concept is that we want to create a platform where people can play to win. Not necessarily a game, like an actual play to earn game, but a UI where people can interact, they can play, and they can win, Fortuna tokens, right? That will be the overall concept. I saw there was like a question about what are we going to do next. We already have some ideas about the current concept. So I think something we're going to execute pretty shortly after go live is probably leaderboards. So people that are participating in the protocol, it could be a variety of factors, but it's like, hey, maybe the person that bought the most tokens, or the person that won the most in their wars, or paid the most rations, or something like this. We're going to have a leaderboard, and then I think we're also going to be doing a guild type of thing where it's group performance instead of individual performance. So I think we'll have those 2 things in the short term. We have a more medium term goal of doing head to head. Maybe even fighting against the emperor, right? So fighting against the treasury a bit, but those will have a lot more complexities involved. But that's kind of the short term, is the leaderboard type thing, and then I think the medium term is more head-to-head battles where you can actually build out your own character with modular NFTs and fight against one another. Again, that would be super deflationary as well, because then we're playing with the existing supply versus having to give that out of the rewards wallet or actually have to mint. So those are more of the short-term, medium goals if people are interested. Again, the idea is to create a platform where people can compete, strategize, so that's the idea behind Fortunas overall.
Cool. Awesome. And so I did post y'all's Discord in the chat there. So like we were saying, guys, first 5 to jump in there and open a support ticket. Say you're from Crypto Kingdom, you're going to get a whitelist. And you said the whitelist basically equals 10% discount on tokens, correct?
Well, it's we'll give you 10% more tokens up to $100. So it's not quite the same. Private sale is the best discount. I mean, you are taking a bit more risk. I mean, in my opinion, it's not that risky, but private sale, you're getting like 25%. And then whitelist, to your point, if you're getting under 1,000 in your investment, then I guess technically it is a 10% discount. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Cool, guys. Well, y'all head over there, open that ticket so y'all can get that. And just make sure you're in their Discord so you can stay up to date with announcements. Like I said, we'll have this on YouTube here soon. I think I've got 3 or 4 other videos I've got to upload. So YouTube's a little slow, especially with these hour-long AMAs, So it will take a few hours. It may be end of day, but I will get it up there so you guys can review if you miss some of it. So, all right, man. Is there anything else we need to go over?
I don't think so. I think that's all I have. Any questions like King talked about, you can always come over to our Discord. We definitely giving 2-3 announcements per day probably at this point, because we're kind of in the thick of it and doing a lot of things. I guess I didn't mention the marketing strategy. Marketing strategy is really to do AMAs like this and other Discords. Partner with YouTubers, which we've actually partnered with quite a few of them over the past week or so, and then also doing some Twitter Spaces or Twitter type partnerships as well. So that's how the project's going to be marketed. That's basically where 70% of the private sale funds are going to go. 30% for liquidity for private sale, 70% for marketing, so we can get the fair launch. Start with a relatively healthy liquidity is the idea, but that's just so everyone knows, that's the marketing strategy. So that's how we're going to kind of carry things out from here. So thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for having me, King. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we wish you the best of luck on your project. And guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you are on YouTube, and follow all these guys' socials. So, all right, man, we will catch up with you soon. And we wish you the best of luck.
Thanks so much. It sounds good. I'll talk to you later now.
See ya.